Welcome to our series of meetings with international guests on artificial intelligence in architecture. And this seminar series is also a PhD course, third level course designed to for PhD students in architecture and the other engineering and design programs of Politecnico di Torino. And we are inviting international guests to discuss together on the influence of artificial intelligence in architecture, design, research, and practice. And this is our sixth and last seminar. And next week we will have the closing seminar with the students, and this will be the end of our course. So all the seminars are also recorded and will be available online on our YouTube channel. And I leave the floor now to Valeria to introduce our today's guest and for her lecture.
Thank you, Federica. So today we have the pleasure of having with us Wanyu. Thank you so much for being here. Somebody else is coming. So just a few words to introduce you and your work. Wanyu is a practitioner, a visionary practitioner, researcher who works at the nexus of architecture and artificial intelligence. She's founder and CEO of XKool technology and LookX.ai, which are two pioneering platforms that harness AI to innovate architectural design and urban planning. With her guidance, with her leadership, XKool has developed tools that automate and enhance the design process, while LookX.ai offers a generative platform, a platform for image generation that is tailored for architects and designers. Her practice, we have been looking in the China room and then other research groups at Politecnico di Torino. We have been looking at her practice for a while now, and we can say without a doubt that it is one of the most interesting, cutting-edge, and innovative practices around the world at the moment. So prior to founding her companies, Wanyu spent over 7 years as a senior project architect at OMA in Rotterdam and Hong Kong, and she participated and contributed to landmark projects such as the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. She works in academia. She's a researcher, as well as a specially appointed external lecturer at Shenzhen University, and has previously held the position of adjunct assistant professor at University of Hong Kong. She also is pursuing doctoral studies at Tongji University, where she focuses on the integration of AI in spatial architecture, and her educational background includes a Master of Science in Architectural Design and Computer Algorithms from the Berlage Institute at Delft University of Technology. Wanyu is very active in participating to international debate around the role of digital tools and particularly AI in architectural design. And this is a testament to her engagement in shaping the next generation of researchers and designers. So Wanyu, I wish to thank you for participating to this doctoral seminar, and I leave you the floor for your presentation, after which we will take some time for questions and discussion. Thank you again.
Thank you, Valeria, and thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and unfortunately, I can only join online, but would like to share what I and my team was focused on in past few years. So, can you see my screen now? Yeah. Fortunately, I just got my doctoral degree last year, so lucky enough to share this news with you. So first of all, I will thank you very much. Yeah, I will tell kind of story of myself first. Why I starting with AI, and I think this is very important because I believe most of the architects or academy professors or students everyone went through this kind of confusion or kind of lost as me. I was thinking to be a cool architect like this. However, not really. And when I was thinking we can do a lot of innovative design when I was working at OMA Rotterdam and Hong Kong, yeah, there's a lot of competitions. And as a part of the Star Architect Office, I should be very proud of it. Indeed, I am. However, I think this kind of a glorious job has a lot of trade-offs. First of all, we are heavily rely on manual input, our time and our efforts, everything. So a lot of overtime every day, almost. And for those innovative design, all those nice ideas like eventually went to the archive folders or trash bins. It's kind of a waste of our intelligence. And also, I found myself eventually became a competition architect, which means I only know how to do nice design for competition, but I was not really an architect. I kind of lost in the loops in between the procedures, starting from the beginning of design, from the briefing, and then to concept design, schematic, and all the workflow. How this came from, I was wondering. And I found the thing is, the nature of our workflow got us at least like 5 of the gaps. The first gap is between the brief and our understanding, meaning what clients want and what the possibilities. Something we have in mind are not aligned with the client because we are two different human beings and we don't understand each other. So there's a lot of barriers by language, by any kind of communication or methodologies. So this is the first. And then second is when we start to do the concept design, once we understand the client's demands, we find ourselves has a gap of our brain and our hand. So something we thought cannot really be represented out to our team, to ourselves, to the client. So once we try to represent ourselves in a way of architectural format, we cannot really get the right point. And thirdly, when we got all those things like conquered and we got all the agreement with the concept, when we moved to schematic, we found that we still need to kind of come over or need to be compliant to the local regulations. Most of architects, like now today, a lot of doing the global competitions or projects, you need to understand the local code regulation. That takes a lot of time. So there's a gaps between the concept to the schematic. And fourthly, when we go to the design development, there will be a really big bridge that will ask us to loop around again, is the budget, the cost. So value engineering will be necessary at this moment. And the value engineering sometimes will require us to go back to the design and change something. For instance, when you do a lot of curvy shape, and this curvy shape is not well be optimized, it's very costly. I will make an example of a later project we had and see what need to be proved in between. And finally, is once the project went to the construction drawing, there will be a lot of like things came out on site, and all those things I found myself lost in the loops, and those loops it's kind of drive me crazy at that moment, drove me crazy in the moment. So I decided to move to something else because when I found out I don't understand much better thing of the construction part. And I want to jump out of these loops. But when I go to the site, oh, sorry. Can you see my screen? Okay. Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
Something just pop out. All right. I went to the site and became a site architect. But I also found on site there's a lot of things unexpected because the site architects itself is kind of a nature that we translate information in between the professional language towards the ordinary language from the consultant, designer, contractor towards the client and the procurement team. So we kind of lost in the translation. And these two parts, lost in loops and lost in translation, I was thinking how and wondering what can we do to make it better. So I was thinking maybe lost in the loops because we lack of automation. We only rely on manual works, then that gives a lot of work and a lot of loops we have to loop around. And even we have understand better of each other, but we need to have automation to assist us to move easier or more efficient in the loops. So this is the first thing I thinking maybe this is a solution. And the lost in translation, I thought that was maybe lack of intelligence because all the things each other we don't understand from the site. I mean, from the site condition towards the data towards the client's understanding. So how about we propose something to resolve these two issues? For the loss in loops, lack of automation, we can use algorithm to design things. And the second part, maybe it's a part of the BIM can be solved this issue, the building information model. So back to 2011, I, with my partner Sheldy, also co-founder of XKool, joined a competition as his mainly work and as my part-time for international competition to really try to using algorithm to generate a urban tissue and find out how can this thing work. So you can see the left side is the data we collected from the site condition. At that moment, back to 2011, there's no big data. And all the data are we collected locally with cameras and to using algorithms to analyze, to find out what's the accessibility of the site, and then using algorithms to generate options. But the option you see right now, it's generated by algorithm which has thousands of different options. You don't know how to select out what is the best option out from those. And fortunate enough that this part already be built, the second phase, which is or the second part of it, which is be realized. But we can see it's already has a lot of changes, and must be a lot of loops as well in between, because the concept we had are by algorithm, but afterwards SDDD are still quite manual. And that is something we find out is not really working because you cannot really find the right solution for each of the steps. It's not a workflow. It's just resolve the part of the issue. This is the first thing. And second is how about BIM to resolve the loss in translation? Of course, we understand BIM is already very advanced compared to CAD. But according to the ISO smart definition, we are still under this level 2, level 3, meaning the machine readable document and the machine readable content. But in the future, we are looking for a new format, which is a machine interpretable content. What does that mean? It means the machine can do self-learning, self-analyzing, and validation, even iteration by itself. Machine is not just communicate with the people, like level 3, is not communicate the content itself, but machine can communicate in between different machine models. So this is the future format which contains in our in AEC industry. It's more like including all the data, model, and the pattern. All the things can be included together. And with those information, we can compare the level 2, level 3, and level 4. That level 2 only have the model itself in 2D or 3D, the geometries, and it can be opened by softwares and edit, of course. And level 3 is you have semantics to enrich the content, however, still manually. So it has the data, but level 4 is with data, model, and the pattern. The pattern means the intelligence within it. And this is a kind of the goal that we are looking for. And with this kind of a goal, we established XKool since 2016. So it's like already 9 years. And we found out right now is really the moment of AI give us this new paradigm shift. We are facing, we already had one paradigm shift, I think, before the digitalization and to the information era. Actually, at around, let's say, 1996, 1995, internet starting to happening and merging into different industries. We found out the machine can already start to handling informations. But right now, the machine is not just handling informations, but also handling model. Model means pattern, logic, knowledge, know-how, and so on. And in the future, this is something we can already see that machine will eventually also merging with the action, like the embodied robots and so on. So this is a kind of a paradigm shift that we are going to face. And with this kind of paradigm shift, it will also require different, let's say, different format to take over all those informations. So this type of a new metadata combining with AI models will become a kind of a necessary. And nowadays, we already saw a lot of new AI models came out and emerging with a different industries, no matter it's the coding or advertising, image generation, and so on. And this is I think it's already be kind of foreseen by one of the top investors or analyzers. For instance, Sequoia Capital, they have a kind of a forecast the paradigm shifts or all those innovative things in the coming years. We already saw that text, code, image generations already became true. I mean, it's all Gen AI, generative AI, can already do all the things. But how about our industry related 3D? I think this is everyone really care about and worry about or concern about. From my understanding of a current trend that 3D models generation right now are just doing the envelopes. It's like image envelopes. It's not the precise model yet. But what we are dealing with are precise model as the one mentioned at level 4 format. You need to have the model with the precise vectors and the dimensions and all those information and with data and with a pattern. So all things cannot be right away generated and as mature as the image generation right now and in further future. So if, let's say, the 3D model be predict around 2030, and of course it's an accelerate, and this higher dimension file models, which is level 4, I think it's also around this time of 2030s, because of the 3D model as an envelope to do, for instance, animations, it's already something there. You can see it. But for the architectural usage in AEC, we still need 5 years to go, maybe. But from our point of view, at least what we do as XKool, we have invented our own format of level 4, containing the various of data, the geometrical model, and the patterns. The patterns including the compliance logic and all the patterns learning from the history and the references. And this is a new format that we can generate different contents. And this is generation of the content that including 2D images, 3D models, 2D graphics, multi-dimensional data. Those are the ones based on the level 4. But more than that is, there's also some other AI capabilities can be merging with our workflows, which are classifications, evaluation, optimization. And all those things can be reworked as into different parts of the workflow. And this is something we have studied in past 9 years. This is one of the article we published, I think in 2018 or 2019. We're using GANs to generate images. Today, of course, everyone knows our LookX or like Midjourney, but we already started on this quite a long time ago. And also, meanwhile, we are working on this 3D geometry generation since 2016. And those are starting from the bigger scale of the master planning and then towards the building scale of the inner space. For instance, like this one, you're just using those color bubbles to generate the layout, as well as to generate the 3D geometry in certain building typologies. So our vision is to really adding AI into the workflow. This AI can be our AI or can be the other AI models. For instance, the first gap between the client minds and the loops, it can be large language models. And now today we already have a lot of mature large language models, open source or not open source, doesn't matter, but there's a certain capability can fill in the gap. And what we are focused on is discovering the possibility if we chop this workflow into 3 parts. So understand the requirements, can be deal with the large language models, the chatbots, and then discovering the possibilities. This is the part in AEC, at least, we need to work out, not just images, but also the conceptual and the schematic. Those are 2 parts of it. And finally, is the output feasibility or feasible set. And that needs more details with the level 4 format. So I will focus and start at the first part and then go to second and then third. The first part, I think everyone understand right now. You can just throw your briefing into ChatGPT. It will give you a lot of explanation or analyzer out of it. But what we need to do, the second part is how we can merge with the current architectural workflow. This is one of the forum of Fortune, and the founder of ADAS in I think happened of end of 2023 or beginning of 2024, and he's just sketching as he usually do, and I just sketch on paper, but he never used a CAD, by the way. And then he hand over these sketches to his assistant, and the assistant just scan it in and input to one of our platform. This is the LookX platform. And then they can, directly try to find something like possibilities or ideations out from his sketch immediately in front of all the audience in this forum. So this is also mimicking a kind of let's say a scenario. If he's facing his client, he can sketch and generate something to the client understanding, and then they can easily communicate to fill in the gap and also fill in the hand and the brain gap. So this is the one of those one of the example. And sorry, let me make the sound a little bit slower. Lower. So I believe maybe part of you already use LookX, the platform that we have. And the LookX is now a really platform a lot of designers, architects are using, from text to image, image to image, and image to video, and so on. And we are more focused on our design parts. So especially design architecture, urban design, landscape, and all our base model are trained by those data. And meanwhile, also different styles and all the demands of the industry are embedded into the system. So quite precise to translate architect's ideation to something client can understand, team can understand. And meanwhile, a lot of tools, for instance, like this one, you can choose area to regenerate, and here you can screenshot any kind of a software, no matter if it's Rhino or Revit, to generate things. And also the video generation, we can using text to video or like image to video. Image to video now is much better because the image has certain quality, and can ensure you got the right thing. And with this kind of video generation, at least you can give the client the kind of 3D feeling, experiencing, and they can understand what's the thing doing. And besides that, we provide this AI for the users, like architects, to use and to train their own models. So you can use your own like favorite images and train the model as a small model. A small model is a low-ranking adoption models, and you can use for your team. And your team can train models together, and then just use for your company or for user for your team, whatever it is. And this is something we can help the team to manage all the team figures. Yeah. As meanwhile, we also got this we call the dashboards for the team to check. So this is a basic the first second parts of the gaps that we can have today AI to help with. So this is the latest one of our latest model Gen 3 you can get from image, and meanwhile generate the videos. Again, our model are more trained as for architectural purpose, designer purpose. So it's more precise in that direction compared to Midjourney. And we can see today, this is our creation plaza. A lot of designers share their outcomes on this plaza. So you can see what others did, and you can learn from each other. I think this is something really interesting, that we create this kind of ecosystem so everyone can see each other and learn from each other. You can just click on one of their works and find out what's their prompts, how they deal with images, and so on. And LookX is already ranking to one of the top 3 conceptual design tools in AI for architecture. And you can see XKool here is also part of the BIM with AI. And this is the second part I'm going to talking about. How can we, or the third part, to using AI to generate more in-depth and more professional models for the feasible set. And before that, I also want to share our thoughts, why we have this idea, and how we think AI can participating with all the things. Actually, I had the discussion with Rem. Rem was here like a couple of months ago, visit Shenzhen with me in China, and we introduced what our AI can do with him. And we have something, I mean, quite agree that the early part of the design as a workflow are definitely need to be driven by people, which is from the issue finding, positioning. Today our form is positioning AI, right? So this is something very important. Before we start to do something, we need to think through and then find our argument, and then the solutions for different scenarios. And from those on, then AI can start to help on the schemes, on the representation, and perhaps also on the realization. So this is something we are thinking as the ideal model for the later part, how AI can involving in. I will make an example of one of the project from A to Z we have involving in AI. First of all, this is a competition in the beginning. The site is located in center of China, in between downtown and one of the largest city in China. And this is the issue we find is it's in between this more like a biological habitat to a human habitat, and how to find the balance point to get this coexistence. So this is the issue we're trying to find out. And second, the positioning, how we do the thinking part of it is we want to embed it, some of the pavilions into it, but to maintain the nature, try to maximize the nature there. But how to get this position? We need to find out what's the possibility of it, the argument. So our argument is to have the geographical mapping of the diversities and carry into this design. So we're using AI to generate the forms and those forms will be trained and iterate, and then find out the best solution to create microenvironment. And meanwhile, to really simulate also the performance of it as a pavilions. This is a biodiverse museum again, sorry. And finally, the forms be generated as the schemes. Once we got all our positioning, our arguments, our thinking, we understand what to do. Then the form become, naturally get to us, because we already got our idea that we want to minimize each of pavilion and get all those ventilation went through, and in front of water we can get really the biopaths from the hills and the mountains towards the water. So this is how the work be done. And once we got the competition, actually the competition has like 200 something competitors. We won the first prize. And then the question in front of us is how we're gonna do it. We are working with one of the design institute. The most important question is how to do this irregular curvy shape into something can be realized. In the beginning, it has 30,000 different tiles. And using the current algorithm, you can only do 116, but that's not enough. So we're using AI to iterate here like a 44 million times to get 12 standard triangular tiles to get really the minimum of the the tiles on the facade, and to reduce the cost of this construction. And then this is the building right now. It's being built just according to what we have optimized. Of course, the landscape it's a quite different story, but you can see the relationship between the water and also the hill is remained. It's not just like other competitors, they just did one bar because it's a linear site. It's kind of a different shapes be created along the river, but still allow the biopath to go through. Now this is from different seasons. So that is the one of the project. And the second one I want to introduce but because of the time, I think I need to speed up, is using the modulars. This is very important how we work things out, because we started with the planning. You already saw the previous, and the scheme as a very generic master plan, but everything need to go to the details. So here we are embedded or integrate with the modular system. And this modular system is prefabbed in a factory. So it's a kind of idea shifting from design top-down towards a top-down bottom-up merging as DFMA, design for manufacturing and assembling with AI. So I just walked through a little bit how we did it. So first of all, we upload the plot to our platform. This is a platform not yet open to external usage, but mostly using by our collaborators and our own design institutes. And they will use those things to generate firstly the master plan, and then generate the image we saw there, and fill in the first two gaps in between the client and us. Because the client here are mostly, let's say, developers or investors, they need to understand the numbers. So if just one single nice image, that doesn't fly. You need to have a precise model to give them the GFA, and they then can use those GFA to really calculate out what's their ROIs. And with the details, we can go further, that we can edit each of the building. And meanwhile, this is a level 4, meaning you have the data, if you have the model, you have the pattern. So you change each of those items, anything others gonna be changed. And the machine can do self-iteration as well here. And if we move forward, or like parallelly, we can design the modules. Each of the modular with our supply chain. For instance, try to find the best solution out from this wall. What is the best combination of different panel sizes? And then with supply chain, you can move forward to see what's the precise state of it. And with all the different principles checking on those items, we can start to establish a design for this modular space. It's a hotel. Sorry, it's a hotel, and the first page jumped too fast. Yeah, it's a hotel with 4,000 keys again. And this one, when we do the interior of it, we need to integrate with the structure, MEP, and so on, not just architectural. And the most interesting part is this model is not just design a master plan or design a module, but it's integrate with the module towards the modular of the room scale, towards the building scale, and towards the master plan scale. And most the important thing is it's a link with the supply chain, and will give you BOQ of those information. So you will have all the BOQ right there, have the quantity, even the price. So no longer you need this value engineering, because in the beginning of the design, from the master plan or associated with the building design, associated with the rest of things, will be part of the work. And with transforming our format into the factory format, we can move forward to production. So during the production, all those column beams can be aligned to the right location and make the frame. And after frame is done, then we can start to install the interiors, like the finishes and MEP and so on. And 80-90% can be done in the factory, and which is like 90% or 90, let's say 99%. It's according to the AI generated model, because it's DFMA. It's from the supply chain towards the supply chain. And finally, those modules will be shipped on site and then just stacking together. So, and with a part of the work that cannot be done in factory, we have this robotic assistancy. This is from our sister company's robots, which can do different on-site works, which also need to use this level 4 format to communicate from each other. And finally, this hotel is done in 4 months. Not just the one of this hotel, these are 2 different hotels. So the beauty of this thing, as a conclusion, is with AI and modular integrated construction, we can really speed up in terms of the time and the efficiency, the quality, and also the issues I found out in the beginning. So in the end, I believe a lot of people has the question that what we do as architect. I think here just reference to Darwin Charles, that today, of course, we do a lot of things, but in the future, we do less than this. AI will take more. However, we will do more things, new things. So it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. All right, thank you so much. This is my sharing.
Thank you, Wanyu, for this amazing talk. So, well, there's a lot of things to think about and to talk about. I think we have some time for questions if you're available. I will, Federico, what do you think? I can break the ice and ask a few introductory questions and then leave the floor to other participants. Okay, so I really appreciated this overview, this sort of unpacking of your practice and this idea that AI-based tools can sort of colonize the different phases of the design process, right? This was really very clear in your talk. So I have my main interest is, and the main interest of this seminar is about the concept of archive and data sets, and really what is can these be considered synonyms, right? Because we know that the concept of archive is a politicized concept. So the way that you build an archive brings with it a series of political questions. So they who have the power to retain information, of course, hold the power of information itself. So is that the case with data sets, and how does this inform and affect the way that we use AI-based tools in architectural design? So my first question is about this in a general way. So I was interested when you said that when you started in 2011, there were no big data, and to produce that first design, you sort of handpicked the data to feed and to train your model. So you collected data locally, you said, through camera, and then this, of course, has changed radically over time, over the last 14, 15 years. So how does this change affect the result, and how do you manage right now the collection of data that you feed your tools? So this is a more general question, but I would like to decline it into two more specific questions. So one is about the project that the competition project that you showed in China, the very interesting project on the waterfront and on the hills and the pavilions. So that has a lot to do with concepts like biodiversity, wind direction, sustainability, etc. So I wonder, when you compare that project with others that you have done in the past and the one that you showed later on, the hotel project, is there a substantial difference in the data sets that you provide the system with, and how does this difference work in practice? Is that a process that can be automated in itself, or is that something that you regulate and manage manually every time that you are faced with a very different brief, a very different site, a very different project? That is one. And the other is about competencies. So when we talk about international debate about AI-based tools and competencies, usually reflects on, what will the competencies of future architects be, right? So what do we have to teach our students in order for them to be able to manage these tools and use them critically and manage their potential to the best of results. But while you were talking, the questions that came to me were mainly about the competencies of all of the other actors that are involved in the process of design, and mainly about policymakers. So if it is possible for AI-based tools to respond to local rules and regulations, how does that affect the competencies of those who actually make those policies and write those regulations? So how do you see that? Because of course there needs to be some sort of change also in the way that we write rules and regulations, which I don't see yet. I don't know what your experience is, and I wonder if you have any ideas or reflection in that respect.
Okay, thank you. Let me refresh the question. So you want me to share my thoughts on the transformation in past, let's say, decade from data collection towards the data usage in terms of the policies, right?
Yes, yes.
So,
And also
yeah.
how to make policies, now that we know that policies will be incorporated by AI-based tools. What does that change in policy making?
Yeah, I only can see my perspective and my understanding because I'm not the policy makers, but I found out that first of all, the trend is open. So the thoughts, the data, perhaps 10 years ago or 20 years ago even, since there's a civilian cameras, the authorities, they already got those data, but it's not open. And today we see there's a more and more source are open out for entities which can participating in for no matter it's a smart city or whatsoever purpose in a good way, meaning it's already be cleaned up, so there's no private the names and all of the sensitive information of privacy, and then the entities with a certain certificates can apply to use those information, even study groups. So I think the trend is open. There are a second thing is a data collection methodology become more. So one is open, second is more. There's a more way to collecting data, not just civilian cameras, but also, for instance, EV cars. Almost all the EV cars with the smart co-pilots, they have cameras, and the cameras can also collecting data, and also their sensors, their laser sensors or whatsoever sensors can collecting data. And then our other formats like the map providers, they're also building the 3D city maps and the satellites with the different layers of scanning of the Earth. You can have the more precise like a topography and the geometries. So there's a lot of ways to collecting data, and there's some more, and there's open. And the third thing is I think it's the policy control. It will be my understanding is a restrict. So it's a more strict, although it's open, but there will be requirements more and more. For instance, like 10 years ago, maybe there's only 10 terms you need to agree before you're using those. Now it's like 100, even 1,000 terms you need to agree with. So there will be more and more limitations to use those data to different purpose. And in certain purpose, you cannot touch even one piece of the data. So there were a lot of strict controls of those data by different regions and the different verticals of industries. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question
Please.
that is a little bit related to this, but more oriented to the issue of creativity of AI, because I've heard in an interview of you that you say that AI-based tool will trigger problem solving and creativity without relying on certain stereotypes. Such tools that go beyond imitating human behavior can offer new perspective and insights. So I was very curious on this topic, and I wanted to ask if you could elaborate on this a little bit.
Sorry, can I understand your question again? So you want to understand how AI can do creativity, or if it's creative enough?
Both. Now that you are saying these kind of things, I will say both.
Okay, so sorry, there might be some delays. I think first of all, I do believe AI can do creativities. Let me just make an example. I already made this example in some other places, but the same story. That let's imagine there's a scenario that a designer need to design a bathroom, and this bathroom has 4 major elements: the door, the basin, the shower, the toilet. So the 4 things. If we do the layout, how many possibilities we can do as a human being? So if it's in general, you're shifting them in the right location, there are 256 possibilities for power 4. And that's all, right? So basically, we usually have, I don't know, 50 types, which are being used by people before, or more agreed with people that it is more convenient to use or very low cost. So those are consolidated into the ones we know, and and become the ones we think are ordinary. But if someone come out this 50 and find out, like say 10 of the different new ones, so we say, oh, it's very creative and we never do this, or we do it this very way, not in this region or not in this budget, and we find out this is something new to comparatively, then we think it's creative. Just make a small example. But with AI, basically you can go through all the 256, and with AI you can basically lay out different pro and cons in different parameter sectors. It'd be more radical to see it's not just beauty enough or not, but to see which one's better. And you will find the best one or most suitable one. Maybe it's not the most creative, but sometimes it may be. It depends on the scenarios. But sometimes you will find out you have all the overview, the God eyes to see everything. So I don't think from this kind of perspective, it doesn't matter if it's innovative or not, because you already see it all. So my understanding is AI see it all. It doesn't care it's innovative or not, because innovative is a comparative to the ordinary, right? This is the first thing, and meanwhile, I think it's answered both questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I think some questions from the participants are also starting to pile up. So maybe first one is by Alp. Please.
Okay. Hello, good morning, and thank you very much for the presentation. I have a question related to Professor Valeria's one about data and archive. I was wondering if you're planning to make like a simulation-based designs, because you're using the existing data. So design is actually something architect can do. The data is existing. Are you trying to make like predictions or scenario-based designs for future?
Let me clarify your question if I understand correctly. So you mean if the design is a data-driven?
I mean, what I see, I think is data-driven, because you're making the simulations or camera scans, so you're making this digital twin. So you're actually designing for what is existing.
Actually, both. As I mentioned, it's a kind of a top-down merging with a bottom-up. The top-down means that you have a kind of a vision through a higher level perspective. For instance, the city would like to, because I didn't elaborate too much of that competition, we have a different layers design of this vertical urban tissue. For instance, the ground floor, it's more smaller pixels, and the second layer you have a bigger size, and then you link something on the third layer, and then you have a bigger blocks, and finally you have the towers. So this is a kind of a top-down vision for the city, because we want to merge the different activities of this urban tissue, not just the commercial, but also office, cultural activities, even residence. So this is something not embedded to the existing condition. So this is from the top down, and this will require architects to control the thoughts. So this is the thoughts is the one we're talking about in the workflow, right? The early part of it, this is from top down, and the bottom up is how we do it. So the data shows how we can do it under the framework that we thought through to get this vision. and will help us to find out, okay, where can we locate those towers, and how can we really master planning those smaller pavilions, and so on. So
Okay.
data-driven, I would think it's on a secondary level, and strategical thinking are the first level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe you.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I'm in a high-speed train. Maybe the connection could be bad, but I have some questions. Firstly, I want to ask, because you mentioned this AI tool is more focused on architecture design, but I saw you did that with a hotel project. So I want you to talk more about the hotel project, because I'm focused on high 5-star hotel projects, and actually that is very complicated. If it is an Indigo project, it start with a storyline consultant, and we have lighting consultant, we have MEP, we have kitchen, and we have interior consultant, we have art consultant. So normally it cannot be so quick as you mentioned. Is that a project that's a quick and low budget process? And I'm also curious about, because I'm a more interior designer, will that the tool that you develop will be in the future also will focus on the interior design? Because if that in an interior design, especially in the hospitality program like hotels, it do have a lot of regulations with different brands like Intercontinental, like Marriott, and it's a lot of data need to be insert in that tools. Sorry if I'm in a bad connection.
It's okay, I heard you clear. I got your point. First of all, the hotel project is a fast project, it is, but it's not a no budget project. I think the per square meter price is equivalent to 4-star hotels in China. So, and meanwhile, this type of a methodology we're also using for some other like 5-star hotels or projects. So this is something it's already undergoing. So modular way of doing things doesn't mean cheap. It means more precise in the factory and more off-site control. And I believe this is a kind of a comparison just similar to car making. So if you build a car manually on site or in your own garage, you cannot ensure the quality as good as the one you make in the factory, right? So this is something, I mean, different way of making things. One can be scaled up in a standardized, more formalized way. And another is, of course, you can do anything you want. It's more free of control, but depends on each of the producer's capability to control the quality. But indeed, the modular doesn't mean you have to do something very cheap. And I mean, also in terms of design, because if you have 10 modules, you can have 10 billion options, 10 power 10. So the options is enormous. You can have a lot. And no matter it's from interior design or whatsoever. So the key is how can we find out the strategical thinking to find out the positioning the project in the beginning, and then to to gradually structure the overall of the project. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for saying that, because last year we have a K11 project, and in the end, they signed the contract with them. They are very high price, but they in the end they pay very low price to a AI tool company just for trial. But they trial, but in the end they still sign a normal high price with us. So sometimes I am confused about the condition now in China and the client thinking of the AI produce.
Yeah. No worries.
Is that okay to use your software in the future for us? Because I never heard that about that, but it sounds very interesting. So it's an open platform that everyone can use.
No. No, as I mentioned, it's only open for our collaborator and our own projects.
Okay.
Okay. Mariolina maybe also has a question.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for this enlightening speech. Thank you, Valeria and Federica. So my question, it's a bit wide, I guess, and it is also about future, and it is related to the last part of your conversation about serialization. And I really appreciate it, and I was catched by this paradigm from the supply chain towards the supply chain, so about processes and systems. And I was wondering which is the level of degree, the level of automation of your system, and do the humans need to validate each step of the way, and which is the future move? I mean, is to validate each step, to booster and to make each step faster, or to, I don't know. I mean, it's an open question. So it is about the degree of automation of your process. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, there's some echoes. Yeah, actually, the automation depends on the project. There's two types of projects, let's say. First type of project is kind of straightforward project, meaning we start from scratch. And second type is that's a kind of, we call it a forward approach. And second type is a fit-in, meaning you already got the design, and then the client want to convert it into modular. So those are major two types. And the first types, at least in automation, the automation in the process of design is quite high in terms of the layout, in terms of the master planning, in terms of the, let's say, superstructure above ground. However, there's still a lot of parts not yet can be integrated into AI. First is the basement and the ground floor, because it's a very complicated in terms of its soil condition, the geotech reports, and the transportation access, and so on. So those parts we usually work with architects. And second is regulation. Each of the country, even region, they have different regulations. Only if we have that region regulation and codes be embedded into our system, we can we can have it more like automatically generated. Otherwise, once it's generated, we still need to change it, because all the fire escape distance, all the fire rating ratios, and all those, I mean, the major constraints, the strict ones, are quite different from region to region. Of course, there are similarities in terms of the rules, the logics, but then you need to adapt to those. And those parts are not, if it's not there in the system yet, we still need to do manual check or manual revisions. And thirdly is the decision making. Each of the step of the job need to have a decision makers, like in the master plan scale, in the building block scale, in the room scale, even for each of the tiles, what kind of tiles you're gonna use. Of course, the machine can recommend you something, but you need to make decision. It's marble, yeah, it's what kind of marble and what size of it, and so on. What's the thickness and what's the price? And so all the things need to have a manual, or let's say human intelligence to make decisions. I think those are the major three parts that AI not yet there. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is the point, to understand which are the next move for the future, and if the human validation is still a thing, or if we are able to, I don't know, train the machine for each step of the way in the workflow, that maybe in some parts of the decision making process they will substitute us. They will, I don't know.
Yeah,
but
definitely. Yeah, you're welcome. And I believe also the work with the communication of course, it's still human work. You have to convince the client. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I would like to add to Marilina's question. You were saying, just to make an example, you said sometimes when local regulations are not yet in the system, then we need to manually validate this part of the process. So how do you decide that? How do you decide that it is more efficient to manually validate that specific phase rather than integrate the tool with local regulations? Is there a reflection on the number of projects that you're doing in a specific region, or what kind of reflection is that?
I think it's as again mentioned, this platform towards the modular are using by ourselves. So it's associated with our group vision or business expansion to different regions. Now we're mainly in Asia, like in China, Hong Kong, and part of Middle East. So those parts of the regulations are more priorly be integrated into the system.
I see. That's very interesting for us. Yeah. I also have another question that builds on this as well. So as a research group, we are very interested in the structure of practices. So how does the social component of an architectural practice work? Really, how is the place where we work made? What kind of competencies enter it, etc. I remember some years ago, Eduardo Bruno, who I think is connected also, visited your office and told us about the composition of your office, which is at the time at least, but maybe also now, was mainly made of programmers, right? We are used to thinking about architectural offices as mainly composed of designers in a more traditional sense. So how would you describe your practice now, if we may ask? We saw a glimpse of it maybe in one of the slides when you showed us Rem Koolhaas and you talking, but but how is the workspace made? Who populates it, and how banally, how many people do you have working on each project, since each project is quite automated and streamlined?
I think first of all, we are kind of a group structure now. It's not just a tech company. So tech companies still remain the same as the Bruno visited, mainly coders, engineers, and product managers, and so on. So those are the team that transforming the demands, the needs, the workflows into AI, into products, into a system. And then we have a different group, which is a more kind of, we call it the AI empowered architecture office. We have a kind of a top classification in China, and it was composed with experienced architects, designers, and with AI. They are using our in-house tools, which is the ones, for instance, the one I showed, and those ones to test. Because our final vision is, if those tools are mature enough, like LookX, we can open up to the rest of the world. But when it's not there yet, we have to test it and to improve it, iterate it. And this is how we are doing it right now. Because of, for instance, LookX and some part of our design cloud was starting since 2016, but this part of the modular integrated with AI and DFMA, I think since 2020. 2020. So still years to go, especially those ones are so complicated. Yeah, it's way beyond our expectation in the beginning. So it takes time to not just to programming it. It takes time not just to programming it, but also to practice it and to improve it from real experience and real projects. So those are the ones we're using. And in terms of the time and the team spending, be honest, our design institute is quite small. Even it's a top classification, but only with a few dozens of people. It's not like hundreds of designers. No, it's not like that. And there are many collaborating with the system, and that really saves quite a lot of manpower, to be honest, and time. Yeah.
And when you, a very basic question, but when you hire somebody, do you have a period of competence building that is specific to your tools and your offices? And more or less, how long does that take?
You mean time we take for projects?
Yes. I mean, since your way of working in practice is very specific, right? That is true for every architectural office, I think, but also think particularly true in your case. So
Yeah.
how do you train newcomers into your offices, and how does the integration period works?
Yes, I was looking for something. It's not here in the shelf, but I was looking for a book. We have firstly published an internal handbook for the newcomers, the new employees to really learn how to bridging architecture and the AI part. So it's called the AI guidebook to architects. So now we already it was I think it was formalized 2018-19, and we published internally in 2019, or 2020, and then a lot of friends and students in China was asking, can we learn it? Because we used to have quite a lot of interns, and it was internal documentation. It cannot find outside. So they asked us to publish it. So we published in Tongji University, and finally it became a book. I think a lot of architect students, they are using it. Some schools may use it as the school material. And this is one of the way. And second is they can join projects to really understand how it works. And our staff can train the people. And also we have a new version of internal documentations to train them to follow up. Yeah.
Super. One last question, and then I urge all participants to think about any last questions that they might have. So you do a lot of teaching. Is the XKool technology integrated into the teaching? Do you use it also to train and teach to students as well?
Yes, I was teaching Hong Kong U and then Shenzhen U, but not as much as I mean, more like a permanent. It's like occasionally or adjunct. But we found it's a very interesting to work with the young students. Actually, we have just finished a kind of a students competition, which is encouraging them to using AI to generate ideations for certain topics. And some of those topics can be transformed into real projects by local government. These projects also be funded by the government, so they got the prize and also the opportunity to realize projects. And those are things I think today I will be more interesting to do, not just in one of the classroom and teaching a bunch of students, but really trying to find opportunities for the students to merging with the AI and to work with AI and to find out their own position with it.
Great. Okay. Are there any other questions from participants? We're also starting to introduce AI-based tool teaching here at Politecnico di Torino. Of course, as you can imagine, our students have been using basic AI based tools for some time now. But from this year, we are introducing specific courses to teach them and to also to reflect critically on the potential and possibilities of AI in architectural design. So this we're also investing a lot on the side of research. So we are opening specific research fellowships dedicated to the relationship of AI and architectural design. So this is something that starting from this year, the Department of Architecture here at Politecnico di Torino is investing a lot in. And also a trend, a wider university trend. So the whole of Politecnico di Torino, so also the side of engineering, of course, is investing a lot on this topic. So I really hope that we can keep in contact, and maybe there will be occasions also to have you here in person and work with the students. That would be really a great opportunity for us to have you here and share some of your knowledge and practice with the students directly. So let's talk about that if you're available.
Yeah, that would be my honor. Actually, nowadays I will be like most of the time in Middle East because of the business expansion. So we'll be more closer to Europe now. So if there's opportunity, yeah, we can open for discussion.
Great.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep in touch for sure. And thank you very much for your time.